why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about you and, kind of what brings you to Spencer?
I'm a non-visual visual artist, which is this fancy way of saying I'm a blind painter, and I just came here to share my story and to paint and to do some workshops, and so get other people painting too, and mostly just to get people excited about art and understand what art truly is. That it's more than just vision; it comes from the heart. Art is just brilliant at being able to share ideas and emotions. Oh, and let me give you guys a tip. For the next time you go to a museum or you go to a gallery, I love working with museums and I love working with galleries, but museums are my favorite. And the next time you go to a museum, it helps if you use all of your senses. So most of the time when you're in a museum, it's all about vision. What's the first thing they tell you? Does anybody know when you go in? Don't touch, yes, oh my goodness. It's a place where, a museum and art gallery is a place where we share all of our ideas and expressions about life. And the first thing that we're told when we go in is, don't interact too much. don't go in there, don't touch, don't. So, but one thing you can do though, is you can use your senses. So if you're in the museum, let's say if you see a landscape, well, you can, and there's a lot of grass, let's say there's trees, maybe there's a horse in it. Think about what it would feel like to actually walk on that grass. Okay? Actually put yourself in the painting. What would it smell like?
Talk a little bit about your process and how you kind of maybe went from not painting to painting.
Whenever I first started painting, I thought I was crazy. I didn't tell anybody. I thought, this is it. All my friends will think, well, John's finally flipped. It's time. We're gonna have to get the butterfly nets or something and get them. But I started learning, whenever I lost my eyesight, I was a student at the University of North Texas, and I started learning how to use my sense of touch to get around. And I thought, well, if I can get myself down a street and around a classroom, around the town, then surely I could get across the canvas if I'm using my sense of touch. So I started drawing with lines that I could touch and feel, and mixing paint so that every color felt different. And I can't tell, some people think I can tell the difference between the colors by touching, but it's just what I mix into the paint. So I make them feel different.
Like what do you mix in to make them feel different?
Oh, that's a good question. Different mediums. So like with acrylic paint, there's different mediums. You can make them feel like water or oil. You can make them work like oil paints. You can make them flow, or go to the other extreme where they're so hard you can carve them with a knife. So it's just a huge range of texture, and I can assign a different texture to each color, and just mix them up, and it just gives me a way to be able to control color. And then I also braille the tubes so that I can just read the tubes and say, oh, this one's blue, this one's pink, or
Okay, so you get an idea. How do you get it on the canvas? How do you get the lines on the canvas?
I mix. When I first started, I used a fabric paint that left a hard raised line, and now I mix my own paints because they dry a lot faster and they're a little bit better for it. But it's the same way that a sighted artist would, but with a sighted artist, you're just checking everything you do with your eyes. Well, if you're blind, you check everything with your hands. So I'll make a line, but instead of being able to see the line, it's a line I can touch and feel. So every line that I make has a tactile quality to it. And whether it's raised, or maybe it's just slick, or it's rough, or it has a different texture, but I can feel it. So instead of using my eyes, I just use my hands to check it. Just like I use my hands for everything, to eat or to cook or to sew a button on. So it sounds crazy, but for me, it's just the way I do everything.
So you've got your idea, you're getting ready to paint, you're ready to do other things. How do you know it's done?
Oh, I get to a point where I think, if I keep messing with it, or if I keep trying to add something, I'm going to start taking away from the painting. And before I do a painting, I think about every part of it. I get it in my mind, and I actually work out the entire painting. Because for me, I have to let a part dry before I can go back and touch it. So I have to work out the way that I'm gonna tackle that painting, like which parts I'm gonna work on first. Most paintings have like 10, 15 layers of paint for me, because I'll keep going back. So once I do everything in my mind that I thought I needed to do, then I'm usually done. I'll call it done. I try not to overwork it.
You've done portraits, you've done animals, so you talked a little bit to the kids today about feeling and touching. So what do you look for when you're feeling and touching your object?
Oh, that's a good question. And it's an advantage I have over sighted artists, I think, because a lot of times if they're working on a model,
that person may be on the other side of the room, but with me, if I'm doing a portrait of someone, I'm feeling their face. I'm in their personal space. We're usually laughing eventually because, you know, I'm touching their nose and their ears, but you get to know them a lot better. And any little smile lines, you know, the way they smile, the way that they hold themselves, and so you end up getting so much more information. And it's actually, I teach that to professional artists in museums all over that are sighted, because they'll use their eyesight and their hands, and then they start being able to take that back to their studio and put a lot more into the art.
What's the message you're trying to give to folks?
You know, don't give up and just believe in yourself. The nicest thing I ever did to myself was that when I first started painting, I told myself I'm not going to judge anything I do for a year. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just important to create. It's just important to make something, and at the end of the year I would decide that. So I would say just be nice to yourself, you know, don't judge yourself so harshly. And you can do it. It's surprising what you can do.
If folks want to know more about you, how can they find out about you?
Oh my goodness, they go to my website, bramblitt.com, and my email, bramblitt@gmail. Everything's Bramblitt, so I don't forget it. I swear to my goodness, I would. But or just go on the internet and type in blind artist. You know, I'll pop up.
All right. Well, we really appreciate Karyn and Spencer today, and your art is amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. I've had the best time.
I went from really a time in my life that I thought everything was over, and then, you know, that nothing new would be in my life. And I was so angry and I was depressed, but through the artwork, I found the more that I painted, the happier I was, and the more hopeful I was, and the better I felt. And every year, my paintings get brighter and brighter and brighter. And now the artwork it's been sold in over 30 countries. We work with the Guggenheim, the Metropolitan, the Dallas Museum of Art, museums all over the country. We work with galleries all over the world, and charities all over the world. And it's just been such a blessing. We've been able to meet some incredible people. Jeff Bridges, Tony Hawk, Lyle Lovett, a whole host of musicians. Whenever I paint, I use color for I use music for the color. They're synonymous for me. Whenever I hear music, I see color. So most of my paintings up here, you may see crazy colors, like in the trees, and like if there's a puppy, it might be a lot of crazy colors. Well, it's a dog that I really met, and I felt his face. But then the color, though, comes from music.